Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitattvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakhattvameva Tvameva Vidyadravidam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the chapter 7 of Panchadashi, and it is essentially Tattva Deepa Prakaranam and the Trupti Deepa Prakaranam. Tattva is in the previous 5 chapters, it was Tattva, Viveka. And here is Trupti. Trupti means the contentment of a Jivan Mukta. So I am getting contented with myself, whereas the other people, the Jivas, they get contentment by fulfilling the desires, but in those contentments, it's only bondage because there is no liberation in the process. Because when I get contented temporarily, momentarily, when my desire is satisfied, I'm happy, of course, until another desire comes into picture. And this is no problem if I keep on fulfilling desires, but it gives me 3 problems. It's called Doshatrayam. Doshatrayam is 3 defects in the process of acquiring contentment via self-enjoyment. So number 1, I am only temporarily contented and I want to have enough of that, but again it comes back again because there is another longing for something else. So it's like a pouring ghee to put out the fire. The fire becomes more and more, so there will be more desires and more running after, and therefore it is an endless problem. And therefore the vasanas become more and more as I enjoy it, and vasanas will be causing me action to vasanas, and this becomes a vicious circle. Kritimo dado padanakaranam. It becomes a bondage itself, because I want this, and the 24 hours is not sufficient, and getting frustrated because I depend on somebody else for my happiness, and so on and so forth. So in the Manusmriti it says Sarvam Paravasham Dukkham Sarvam Atmavasham Sukham Etad Vidya Samasena Lakshanam Sukadukkayo. It gives the meaning for what is Sukham and Dukkham. Sarvam Paravasham Dukkham. Any dependence other than oneself is cause for Dukkham only. Why? Because any happiness that I get out of it is Dukkha Mishritatvam, and it is mixed with Dukkham, and it is since it's Agama Payitvam, it is the Asantruptikaram, and it is Bandhakatvam. These are the 3 doshas that are associated with any sense enjoyment, any contentment that I get out of sense enjoyments, having 3 defects. One is, it is number 1 is Dukkha Mishritatvam. It is mixed with sorrow. There is not full contentment. Unhappiness mixed with the sorrow. Why is unhappiness? It is a struggle to gain it and struggle to keep it and struggle if I lose it. So in all the cases it's only continuous struggle. I am never fulfilled in that. In becoming something, I lose something in the process. And when I want to become a married and I lost the bachelorhood, whatever that associated with the pressures of that. So in any gain there is a loss. And that's essentially Dukkha Mishritatvam. And Asamtraptikaram is because even if I gain, you think I am full, from then on there is another wanting mind or a longing mind or a desiring mind for something more. So I keep on going, chasing after sense objects more and more and more, and therefore there is a asamtrupti. There is no trupti there, whereas here this is trupti, complete contentment is this. Is the chapter title. And the third problem is dosham is the bandhakatvam. I become bound because even though that gives temporary happiness, now I depend more on it. Like for example, coffee we give is temporarily I get satisfied, but now I depend more. Unless I have coffee, I am not contented. So trupti comes here when I am full completely all the time. and full completely all the time, not by gaining something, because you cannot become full infinite by becoming a finite things. I am infinite by nature, by recognition of that. Therefore, the scripture says, Atmanam Vijaniyat, has to be known. That Atma is by itself is full, therefore Trupti comes by knowing it, that I am that full. It's not I am knowing some Atma, I am the Atma, therefore contentment, Trupti is. We are looking at the verse 3. It says, Maya bhasena jiveshau, Maya bhasena jiveshau, karoti iti srutitvataha, karoti iti srutavrataha, srutatvataha. Kalpitaveva jiveshau, kalpitaveva jiveshau, tabhyam sarvam prakalpitam, tabhyam sarvam prakalpitam. Together, Maya bhasena jiveshau, karoti iti srutatvataha, kalpitaveva jiveshau, tabhyam sarvam prakalpitam. So we are analyzing the Jivaha, Ishvaraha, Jivesha. This is two. The Jiva and Ishvara are nothing but Maya Abhasena. So Maya Abhasena, it's only a reflection of pure Satchidananda on the Maya. So this is what we are looking at. Then what is the difference between Jiva? Both are reflections on the Maya. So Maya is same as Prakriti. Mayantu Prakritim Vijjat. The Upanishad says, the Svetasvatara Upanishad says, Maya is same as Prakriti. So Maya is Prakriti. Prakriti is Trigunatmikam, has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas. And reflection of pure consciousness, Satchidananda, is now reflected in Maya that has three gunas. And in the case of Ishvara, it is only pure Sattva Gunam without the impurities of Rajo and Tamo Guna. So Ishvara is a reflection called the Chidabhasa or the Abhasa, here essentially Maya Abhasa. Reflection of in Maya is Ishvara, of reflection of what? Of the pure consciousness. So we have to look at this way. Pure consciousness is infinite and Prakriti is also infinite. Prakriti is nothing but the Pancha, Bhutas and so on together constitutes the Prakriti. This Atmana, Akasha Sambhudaha, Akashat Vayu. So space, and space itself is infinite. Because if there is finite, then we'll ask what is there on the other side. If there is something there, there has to be space there, and therefore space has to be infinite logically also. So Maya, so what is essentially Ishvara? So God here is, God is being defined in a sense that he is a reflection of pure Satchidananda on the Maya, which is a predominantly Sattva Guna, and Sattva stands for knowledge, therefore pure Sattva Guna, therefore is completely knowledge, therefore Ishvara is Sarvajnaha and Sarvasiktiman. All that because of it's a reflection of the Satchidananda in the Maya, which is of the predominantly Sattva Guna Pradhana. So therefore there is no impurities there, and therefore Ishvara is the reflection. So we have three quantities here. One is pure consciousness, which is Satchidananda, and another is the reflecting medium, that is essentially Maya, which is Trigunatmikam. And in that medium, the reflection occurs. Why the reflection occurs? That is the nature of the medium. So if there is a sunlight and if there is a mirror, mirror is going to reflect, and whereas the stone may not reflect. Why mirror reflects and not the stone? That is the nature of the mirror. So mirror is polished and pure, clean, neat, and therefore reflection will occur. In the same way, as long as there is a Maya, and Maya being a subtle, and with that Sattva Guna Pradhana, the reflection will occur, and that is called macro macrocosm versus microcosm is the two that is being discussed even in the Mandukya Upanishad also. So the macro is Ishvara, and that is Virat Swarupam, is essentially reflection of pure consciousness in the Sattva-guna Pradhana Maya, and that is Ishvara. So Jiva is the reflection of same Satchidananda, same Brahman, and reflection of the Maya, Prakriti, where not only Sattva but is impurities of the Rajoguna and Tamoguna, different proportions depending upon each Purusha. So this is where the difference between the human beings occur, because in the pure consciousness there is no difference, but in the reflecting media there is a difference, and the reflecting media is pure Sattva is Ishvara, and Sattva mixed with Rajoguna and Tamoguna is Jiva. And in the Tamoguna and Rajoguna, the Rajoguna portion versus Tamoguna portion and Sattva-guna portion, the proportionality of these changes depending upon the individual. So in the stones or inert things, only Tamoguna is there is no other ones. Whereas in the evolution, as a human being, there is a Sattva guna more and more compared to the Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So evolution is going from a Tamoguna to Rajoguna to Sattva guna, and that's what is essentially purification of the mind. Impurities have to be removed. But anyway, here we are talking about Maya, the reflections is called the Chidabhasa, or here just Abhasa or a Maya Bhasa. So there is a reflecting medium and there is a reflection occurs because there is a reflecting medium, because it's capable of reflecting, and the reflection depends upon the reflecting medium, because the pure Satchidananda, there is no difference of any kind. Sajati Vidati Swagata Beda Rahitam, there is no difference of any kind. It is homogeneous light of consciousness, Deepa of homogeneous light of consciousness, and there is no difference of any kind. So depending upon the reflecting medium only, reflections are occurring. If it is a dull mirror, the reflection is dull. If it is a bright mirror, polished mirror, then reflection is all that can occur, and that is only the gradations in the reflecting medium. So we have the original consciousness, we call it Satchidananda, the OC, and the reflecting media, which are different depending upon the proportion of Sattva, Rajo, Tamo gunas, and all are part of the Prakriti, and Prakriti is same as Maya. So Maya Bhasena Jiveshau Karoti iti, that appears into many. And this is what the declaration of Shruti itself. So Shrutattvataha. So it is being declared by the Shruti. So Kalpita eva Jiveshau. So this Jiva is only reflections, it is not really real. So it, as long as the reflecting medium is there, reflection cannot but occur, and therefore this is only Kalpana, because even the reflecting medium is only appearance. Why its appearance? Because in the Satchidananda, it is Brahman, it is Ekameva Advitiyam. It is pure consciousness, Prajnanam Brahma, it is pure consciousness, and it is infinite, and therefore there cannot be anything other than Brahman. So if there is something other than the Brahman, it's only appearance, and appearance is just as the scripture itself says, gold becoming into many. Vacharambanam vikaro namadheyam. The scriptural statement is Vacharambanam vikaraha. It's only nam ke vaste creation. That's essentially kalpita eva. That means it is as though real appearance creation, and in that appearance you have micro and macro. So Jiveshau kalpita eva. Once these two are are formed, then they further create, these two further create Tabhyam Sarvam Prakalpita. So there is an Ishvara Srushti and there is a Jiva Srushti. So now we are talking about Ishvara Jiva formation by the reflection in the Maya. Now once we have Ishvara and Jiva, they are going to create, and that becomes a Sarvam Prakalpita. Sarvam is everything that we perceive in the universe is nothing but their projection. That's what the second. So we have in both cases Ishvara and Jiva, OC, the pure consciousness, there is a reflecting medium, RM, and there is a reflection of that in this, essentially a pratibimba reflections, and those are called Chidabhasa in the case of Jiva and Mayabhasa in the case of Ishvara. And now we go to the mantra 7. Ichanadi praveshanta Srushtirishena kalpita Jagradadi vimokshantah Samsare jiva kalpitaha Together. Ichanadi praveshanta Srushtirishena kalpita Jagradadi vimokshantah Samsare jiva kalpitaha. So here he is defining now what is Ishvara and what is Jiva. All that is trying to explain what is Purushaha in the mantra of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It says Atmanam Sedvijaneyat Aham Asmiti Purushaha. So in all this is explanation of what is Purusha. In that he brought in Ishvara also. So Ichanadi Praveshantaha. Ichana is he saw. So what is this he saw? So essentially we go to Chandogya Upanishad. In the Chandogya Upanishad it says the proposition of the teacher is the Eka Vijnana Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. A beta, that is a father, the teacher, and student is Swetaketu, says, have you learned that knowledge, knowing which you know everything? And the student says, I don't think I have learned, I don't think that can be possible, and my teacher also doesn't know, because if he knew, he would have taught me also. So he was very arrogant, but because he is a son, so he wanted to put him in proper place. He says, have you learned that? And then the student asks, please teach me what is that? Is it possible? He says, yes, that's possible. And he gives 3 examples. Says, just as gold becoming into many ornaments, and therefore if I know the material cause, carefully, if I know the material cause, if I know goldsmith, I won't know anything else other than goldsmith. But if I know the material cause, that is the gold, then all ornaments formed from that gold is essentially known, because I have substantive knowledge of all the ornaments. I may not know the details of the ring and the bangle and the necklace and the bracelet and so on. Those are details, but essence is it's gold. From gold it came, by gold it sustained, into which it goes back. The weight of the ornaments doesn't depend upon the ring or a bangle, it depends on how much gold it is. Value of the ornament doesn't depend upon whether it's a ring or a bangle, depends on how much gold it is. So therefore, the substantive knowledge I have, so knowing which I know in essence all the ornaments that are product before and now and will be future, I know everything in essence. That means I have the substantive knowledge. And after saying that, the student asks, please teach me that knowledge. So I see the possibility, so I want to know, by knowing one, I'll know everything. That was the proposition. It says, yes, if I know the material cause for the whole universe, from which it came, by which it sustained, into which it goes back, then I know the substantive knowledge of the whole universe. So knowing which, I know everything in principle. So therefore, it says, Sadeva Saumya Idamagram Asid Egameva Advitiyam. What was there before creation and how it became into that? Therefore, creation was being explained. So, if I know that which became into many, then I know everything. What was that which became many? That was before is started with Sadeva. Existence alone was there before creation. It is one without a second. That means it's infinite. There is nothing other than existence. Then he says Tadaichada. So Ichada is, this is the same statement used by the Brahma Sutra also. Ichada, the Prakaranam is, Adhyayam is there. There it says that because he saw, he says, what did he see? He just now said what was there is pure existence, and that existence saw. So if existence can see, only thing that can see is only conscious entity. So therefore it has to be a conscious entity. And what was there before? It was existence, and therefore it is not just existence, it is Chitrupaha. It is of the nature of consciousness also. So that's what implied by the statement Ichada. So that consciousness means what was there before is Sat and Chit, or Sat Chit. Not Sat and Chit, it is Satta Eva Chit. So, existence which is of the nature of consciousness. Consciousness also, Brahman is separately declared, therefore you cannot say that there is a part of it existence, consciousness, and part of it existent non-consciousness that Bhagavan Ramanuja proposes in his model, because the pure one, it is one without a second, but in that existence there is a varieties of it. One is the Chit and Achit. In that Achit, the Jiva Chit is different from Paramatma Chit, and therefore there is many Jiva Chit, many Jivas, and therefore an infinite number of Jivas are there, all part of one Brahman. So he differentiates, and also Jagat also is there, part of the Brahman, and part is called Achit, and that Achit is inert, and he differentiates from into two, Chit and Achit. Whereas the scripture doesn't say that. Scripture says he is one without a second, and also says the Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is infinite. So if consciousness is infinite and Sat is infinite, there cannot be two infinities. So Satta Eva Chit, as Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi puts it, and therefore Sat is same as Chit. It is a consciousness existent. We are not talking about the non-existent consciousness. So consciousness that was there before, and Ichada, it saw. What is there to see? There is nothing to see, because it is one without a second. So it means it is self-conscious entity. And it says Ichada Bahusyam. I am only one, the whole. Let me become many. Praja eti, and it became many. So from that statement on, Tada Ichada, because there is Sankalpa is involved, that becomes Ishvara. So until then it's pure existent consciousness, and it wants to become, there is a wanting mind there, and the wanting to become is becoming Ishvara. Let me become many, and that is the Ishvara, is the state is being defined here. So Ichanadi, from that point on, Ichanadi Praveshanta. Pravesha means the entering. Entering is in the Upanishad, it says the Upapravesham. So how is this Pravesha comes into picture? In the Chandogya also there is statement, says he entered into the creation. So how did he create? So this is a statement. First he started with the subtle elements, five subtle creation of the Ishvara. So he creates the five. From the Maya itself, he creates the five elements, which are the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, and he creates the subtle elements, and from that subtle elements, he creates essentially the subtle bodies in the process. So the Sukshma series are created from the Sukshma elements. after creating the subtle element, antahkaranas, and he created the gross body. Gross body is nothing but by grossification of the subtle elements, that called panchikarana process that we discussed before. He creates the gross materials, and using the gross materials, he creates 14 lokas. So you can think of all that is imagined by what need to be created, because the power of creation has to be thought out clearly, because it's an intelligent creation. So if I want to make a pot, or if I want to create a house, as an architect, I have to visualize and make a blue drawing where I am essentially picturizing what it's going to be. In the same way, in the mind of the Ishvara, this is the total mind, which is Maya. As the mind, it visualizes the whole creation. On what basis? On the basis of karma of the jivas. That will come here. It says, Ichanadi Praveshanta. So once he creates different varieties and varieties of the lokas. Why those lokas? Those are the fields required to exhaust the vasanas of the jiva. So jiva is also there, is not created anew, but it is only reflecting in the Maya. Maya is eternal, and therefore reflections are also eternal. It is anadi, beginningless. Maya, same as from the point of jiva, it is avidya, and avidya is beginningless. So this creation is beginningless. That's why it is a cycle. There is no beginning for the cycle. So janmadi, janma srishti sthiti laya goes around and around, and they cannot be beginning for a cycle, and that's what essentially is implied. So Pravesham, once he created the 14 lokas, then he created using the broad body, the sariras in each loka that is conducive to exhausting that loka. So in the bhuloka we need a sariram depending upon the particular jivas. So human body sariram is different from the animal bodies and the plant bodies, insects and all that. There are 85,000 varieties of the bodies are there, and those are created. Then what happens? Then the entering into the same consciousness entered. What is entering here is essentially pure Sachidananda now get reflected in the antakaranam. In the subtle material, it gets reflected. And that reflection, Chidabhasa, is called Pravesham. Because it's just like the sun and the moon. Sunlight is going all over, suddenly moon comes into picture, and now the reflection of the sunlight occurs, as though you can say reflection entered into that, making the moon luminous body. Moon is not luminous by nature, but moon became a luminous body by the reflection process of the sunlight only. So now moon is a luminous entity in the sky, we say, but luminosity is borrowed luminous. Same way, the reflection of pure Satchidananda occurs in the local subtle body, Antakarana. That is reflection as though occurring is called Pravesham. So, Upavishade, he entered. What entered into that is essentially a reflection as though enters, because the medium has the reflection capability. So there is a sunlight out there and the door is locked. Once I open the door, the reflection as though entered into the room, because there is a mirror there. So mirror cannot but reflect, and it is similar to some analogies there. So Ichanadi Praveshanta Srushtihi Ishena Kalpita. That part is the Lord's creation. Now he can go to sleep. After creating the whole 14 lokas and each sariram for the jivas, and when the start reflection occurs, Pravesham, that which is what? Same Satchidananda reflection now in the local entities is essentially a jiva, and that is essentially Pravesha, and that Srushtihi Ishena Kalpita. That's all done by the Ishvara. So how does he create? On what basis he creates all these Jiva? Some with a healthy body, some with the defective bodies and all that. That has nothing to do with the Ishvara. It is Jiva is coming into helping him in the Ishvara. So Ishvara doesn't create by himself. He takes the help of Jiva. How Jivas are helping? Jivas are helping by providing their karmas. Essentially based on the karma, Ishvara has to create to exhaust those karmas. Karmas is in the vasanas. As for in the 8th chapter, says the karma is the cause for creation. So karma is contribution of the Jiva to Ishvara. So Ishvara cannot create without the help of Jiva, because he cannot create randomly anything that he wants. So based on the karma of the Jivas, he is going to create 14 lokas depending upon their vasanas and put each one in a different lokas where they can exhaust their karma. So therefore the creation requires both factors, Ishvara and Jiva. Contribution Ishvara is Sarvagyatvam, Sarvavyapakatvam, Sarvasaktitvam. So he has all the tools and he can create anything he wants because that capacity to create, because he is Sarvagya. But at the same time he doesn't create anything that he wants. His hands are tied by the Jiva contribution. So Jiva contributes. Without the Jiva, Ishvara cannot create. Without Ishvara, Jiva doesn't have any creation. And therefore, both factors, that's why he said, Jivesha Kalpita. The whole universe is created by the Jiva and Ishvara. So Ishvara contribution only ends up to Pravesha in the creation wise. Then comes the Kalpana of the Jiva. So Jagradadi Vimokshantaha, from Jagrata Adi. Jagrat means from the waking state, from means different states of experiences. Vimokshanta, until he gets liberated. Samsare Jiva Kalpitaha. That samsara, samsarati. So Jiva Kalpitaha is a creation by the Jiva. So why? Because he comes with the prarabdha karma, and the prarabdha karma has to be exhausted, and by that he runs around, gets tired, then he goes to sleep and dreams about. So some of the vasanas that cannot be exhausted in the waking state are exhausted in the subtle body, in the dream, and in the deep sleep state he completely gets rest because he was so tired, and come back again fresh and again go on and on. Munye sayam pratah sasiravasanto punarayataha kala kridate gacchatyayuhu tadapina punchat yashavai. So day in and day out, and seasons and years and goes on. One day he kicked the bucket, and that's essentially Jiva. Samsara is that he doesn't go anywhere. He goes from one loka to other loka, because this loka is no more conducive to exhaust this, or this body is not conducive enough to exhaust the next set of vasanas. So he has to enter into another body. Or some says Jinnani yatha vihaya, says Gamani Grushnani Uparani. So if the body is though deteriorated, just as the cloth has deteriorated, he has to take another physical body, because he has to experience the vasanas, likes and dislikes, and he needs a different body, or more active body, in order to exhaust next set of vasanas. Therefore he leaves the body. That's why in all our statements we say, because he is Margaya. Margaya means he is dead and gone. That means he has gone somewhere else, because he is no more here. He went somewhere else. Where did he go? Where he is looking for some other body where he can. So there is no reason to cry for anything, because he is getting a better body maybe, or better environment, because this body is no more conducive. So there is no point in crying if somebody leaves the body. But anyway, because of our attachment to that body, we cry. Jagradadi Vimokshanta, until this goes on, life after life after life. Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam, Jatare Sayanam, Iha Samsare, Baudustare, Krupaya Pare, Pahimurare. This samsarati keeps on going, continuously moving, one life after life after life. So until what? until from avartantaraha, from one whirlpool to other whirlpool, we are going from as though cut up like an insect, until one Mahatma picks up and out of compassion puts under a tree, not under a hot sun, puts under a tree until we recover something. In the same way, a Mahatma has to come and help us so that we recognize what we are. We are not the body, mind, intellect. We are Satchidananda Swarupam. That is Vimoksha. So until I reach that, there is a Jiva Kalpana goes also. Samsare Jiva Kalpitaha. So until that, samsarati. So he has differentiated the macro and the micro creations, macro Ishvara creation up to the pravesha, starting from the subtle elements and the gross elements until one enters into it. And the Jiva, once entered, becomes a Jiva now, local reflection, and the Jiva until he gets liberated, and this is samsara. So when does he enter and all that? It is anadi, it is beginningless. So the cycle goes on and on. You cannot say when did this start, all this. So there is no starting point for this kalpana. So we go to next sloka, 5. Brahmadisthana bhutatma, Brahmadisthana bhutatma, Kutastha sangachidvapuhu, Kutastha sangachidvapuhu, Anyonyadhyasato sangaha, Dhista jivotra purushaha. Together, Brahmadisthana bhutatma, Kutastha sangachidvapuhu, Anyonyadhyasato sangaha, Dhista jivotra purushaha. So, Brahma Adhisthana bhutatma. So, Brahma Adhisthana bhutatma. Kutastha sangachid vipuhu. So here we are talking about, so Kutastha asangachid vapuhu. So Kutastha is pure consciousness. This has been discussed in the Kutastha is being used the same as Sakshi and same as the original consciousness we were talking about, and that is Kutastha. Asangaha Chidvapuhu. It is of the nature of the pure Chidvapuhu. It is of the nature of pure consciousness. It is of the consciousness that never gets destroyed, that never gets a change, and is constant, because if consciousness changes, who will be conscious of the changing in the consciousness? There has to be another consciousness which consciousness of the changing of this consciousness. And if that consciousness has to be changeless, so we go into infinite regress, and therefore the consciousness is asangaha and is immutable. Sangha means non-associated with it, that any mutation cannot occur, and it is untouched by any of this process here, because this is only apparent process, will not affect the other. So therefore the ontological order has to be clear. Ontological means a degree of order has to be understood here. So Brahman doesn't have any problem. From Brahman point, it is pure Satchidananda only. But in its presence, everything is manifesting, but it's not a real manifestation, it's apparent, and he calls it Brahma. Brahma here is called Vyavaharika Satyam. So it essentially involves the mind, Adhisthana, Brahma Adhisthana bhutatma, and that which is the Adhisthana is the substantive of the whole thing, is Kutastha Asangaha. So essentially Brahman is the substantive of the whole universe also, and that's what it is, because he himself became many. That's what this statement is. Anyonya adhyasaha asangaha Dihista Jivotra Purushaha. So now why is Jiva coming into picture? This is Anyonya Adhyasaha Asangaha. So that Anyonya Adhyasa. Now we have two things here. Anyonya Adhyasa means mutual superimposition. Adhyasa is mutual superimposition of each other. There are two things here. One is pure consciousness and there is a reflecting medium. So we have pure consciousness is the Satchidananda, reflecting medium is the mind and so on, and the medium is inert, and the medium being essentially that which comes continuously changing. So property of the mind and the body and the intellect all are essentially being inert. They continuously undergo modifications, and that being the nature or property of the equipments, and the property of the Satchidananda is pure consciousness, called Kutastham. It is unchanging, eternal, pure consciousness. Now these two are getting combined in the reflection. By the process of reflection, I am essentially trying to borrow properties of that into this, and properties that is superimposed on that. So Chidabhasa, the reflection, has two properties. One is the property of the pure Kutastham or pure Sakshi or pure Vosi, the original consciousness, and the property of the reflecting medium. So these two properties together is becoming a cho-cho mixture, and that's where the whole problem is. The problem is, this is Anyonya Adhyasa, mutual superimposition of this is the Anyonya Abhyasa. So even though I am Asangaha, is untouched by it because of the superimposition, that the property of the inert things are being superimposed on that. Inert things is, it is changing and it is modifying continuously. It is a desakala vastu parichinnatvam. It means it is temporally in terms of space-wise, time-wise, object-wise. This subtle body is different from that subtle body, and this subtle body knows certain things and other things doesn't know. All limitations of the subtle body and continuously modifications. The what I had, the BMI that I have, the body, mind, intellect that I have when I was child is different from the body, mind, intellect that I am adult, and the body, mind, intellect when I am getting old, continuously changing all the time. But I am the same. So there is a changeless entity superimposed on that. I am the same, what? I am the same with the same body, mind, intellect which is changing. So changing body, mind, intellect and the changeless I am are together all the time, because I am, this is my problem. I am, who are you? I am this, my biodata, and biodata keeps changing also. So now I am adding some more this, and sometimes I drop the other ones because they are not relevant for this job or some other job. So all this because of Anyonya Adhyasa. So what is Anyonya Adhyasa? Shankara starts with the Adhyasa Bhashya, and before he explains the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, he inserts Adhyasa Bhashya, and there's a beautiful way the Adhyasa is being explained. What's Adhyasa? Is a thing but Satyanuta Mithuni Karanam Adhyasam. Adhyasam is nothing but Satyam, Anutam, Mithuni Karanam. Together is essentially is what we are talking about, Anyonya Adhyasa. So Satyam, the truth, and Asatyam, Anutam, Asatyam, the false are being mixed together, and that is essentially Adhyasa, a chow-chow and inseparable. When I say I am this, in the very I am this, there is a mixture of the two. I am is pure consciousness, existence, that is Brahman, and this which is inert and insentient, and which is essentially the localized, which is having the space-wise, time-wise, object-wise limitations, and when I mix together, and that's my ego. Ahankara is nothing but I am this. So with that, I am superimposing some properties of the pure consciousness and some properties of the inert things together, and that's called Anyonya Adhyasa. This mutual superimposition. Why am I superimposing? Because I don't know I am pure consciousness. If I know that, then I don't take myself, I am this. I am pure. I am, and I cannot anything add anymore, because no word can reach there, and that is my pure nature. But for transactional, for Vyavahara, I have to mix these two, and because Vyavahara is done with the local equipments only, therefore I have to use Anyonya Adhyasa becomes a problem. If I know it is Adhyasa, then I am knowledgeable. If I don't know and take that I am this only, then I become a samsari. So Anyonya Adhyasataha Asangaha These Tatra. So even though I am unattached, Asangaha, and because of superimposition of the attributes of the pure consciousness on this, and that is Dhistha in the Buddhi, reflection occurring, and in the Buddhi there is a notion that I am a Jiva. Where does it occur? In the Buddhi only, not in the pure consciousness. Pure consciousness doesn't have any misunderstanding. It is Ekameva Advitiyam. So no knowledge, no ignorance, nothing there. It is one without a second. No, neither mind can go nor the speech can go. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. Therefore, that only from the point of the which is inert, now activated because of consciousness, and now it is conscious dhi. Conscious dhi means it is consciousness borrowed from the pure consciousness. So that part of its reflection, and by the process of reflection, it is a consciousness that is getting reflected. So dhi also becomes as though conscious entity, and that is what essentially adhyasa. Dhistaha jivatra purushaha. So atra is that in the scripture statement, what is that Purushaha? Atra Purushaha is this Jivaha, in the Dhi reflection is occurring. So pure consciousness, Oshi, and the subtlest body, which is intellect, and the reflection is occurring in the intellect, because intellect cannot but reflect, and in the reflection the Dhi becoming a conscious entity, just as the moon is inert, but in the reflection of the sunlight it becomes a luminous entity. So luminosity is not the property of the moon, but it is a borrowed luminosity. It's only reflected light from the moon only. So when I am looking at the moon, I have to see the light of the moon is not the light of the moon, but it is reflected sunlight only. I have to recognize. That's what we will go. So it is Asangaha Kutastha. So we are bringing how Purusha came into picture. Pure consciousness is all pervading, and that part of the consciousness that is falling on the Buddhi is the Kutastha, and that gets reflected and makes the reflecting medium also as a conscious entity. So you have to be careful what is Kutastha and what is that. If I am putting a hand here, the light is all over there, but that part of the light that is falling in the hand, on the hand, is the Kutastha or Sakshi. That part of the light that is falling in the other hand is different Kutastha, although there is no difference in the Kutastha. So one has to be careful what is Sakshi and what is pure all-pervading Satchidananda. All-pervading Satchidananda, Kutastha, there is no difference in principle, but we differentiate only that part of that consciousness as though falling in the localized, the body, mind, intellect is the Kutastha, and in the falling it gets reflected and it becomes a Chidabhasa, and those which is in the reflection in the Buddhi is essentially Chidabhasa. Chit means the Dhi, and Dhistaha, reflection on the intellect, and that becomes a Jiva. That is the Purushaha. So he has defined what is Purushaha in this. That's what we are talking about. Purusha in the mantra itself of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. We'll go into more details as we see. And we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.